Well, good morning. It is Wednesday at about 10 o'clock. It's a little bit late. There were everything updated last night, um, including Chrome. And Chrome is the thing that underlies the chat window. And the instructions that I have about how to restore it don't work with the update. So everything's in a different place. It's all labeled something else. So I can't see the chat screen. What I have instead of a chat screen is what you're seeing, which is the same thing I have on the other monitor. So if you are going to be in chat, at least until tech support shows up sometime later, maybe, I won't be able to respond because I can't see it. And okay, it's really weird. So I'm watching on the main monitor in front of me so I can see if I'm on screen or not. That's the real purpose of it is am what I'm doing on screen. So I look at it up there and I can see whether I am or not, mostly. And the other one that is supposed to be the chat but isn't the chat has, let me time it, about a 2.5 second delay. It's very weird. So I apologize for that. I just came down and everything wasn't working, and I got most of it working. There's another program that's running. I don't even know what it is. NVIDIA, for some reason, NVIDIA is running. There must have been like a half a dozen updates last night. My own computer, not the one running this stream, but the one I use for like doing taxes and reading emails and playing a video game. That one had a bunch of updates as well, so nothing was working this morning. Fortunately, most of the files there are recovered, but here they're not. I'm going to have a snack though. Fresh last night, chocolate chip pecan cookies. My breakfast and lunch. Well, even though I can't interact with anybody today, and I apologize, I'll keep reminding everybody that the chat screen, I didn't expect this, and so I didn't give time for it. I didn't leave time to try to fix it, and then the instructions aren't the same, and the interface isn't the same. And so it's not working, and will continue to not work probably for a while, maybe even the entire stream. So I apologize for that. But I can go forward with painting. And I'm going to be, as it says here, I'll be painting these minifigs. These are minifigs of NPCs in our Dungeons and Dragons show. In particular, these are the members of a group called the Divorcees, which is another group within the Company of Blades, which is the mercenary group to which we belong. There we go. That's why these are here. And I started painting the orc spellcaster. Yeah, I'm going to continue working on that one. And I'm also going to be working on the Savoia S.21 engine compartment, which has been going on for a week now and has been the cause of no end of awfulness. If I can... tried to clean up and just sort of made it even a bigger mess. Now I have no place to put things. So there. So the Savoia stuff is in the box here. And if you'd been watching, starting with last Wednesday, you would have seen just one disaster after the other. I spent like an entire stream last week doing nothing but sanding some little molding flaws, injection molded flaws. Yeah, that took an entire stream. And you can I don't know if it made any difference or not, but there it is. And then I spent most of last week, Wednesday, taping all of this so I could spray paint it red. Right. And then I did, and it was a disaster. That's why Friday was epic fail. And Friday was an epic fail because red paint is translucent, and some of the metal paint had gotten over the edge. I touched it. That's why it said paint my fingers, because some jumped onto my hand, the metallic paint. It just appeared all over my finger, and I touched things. Well, it made such a mess that I needed to re-prime and start over. But in the process of repairing these parts, I made it even more of a mess. So over the weekend, I was able to spray paint the red, and the red came out mostly okay. But the taping that I had spent like 2 hours doing was kind of a failure. And so now I need to be touching up the paints on the insides of these pieces because they got red spray paint on them. So I'm going to be doing that. I'll be doing that. I think I'm going to start with that first because it's going to require multiple coats. I know it will, because I started this, just tested it on here, and it's going to require multiple coats. And so I'm going to paint some Savoia, touch up, and then let it dry. You get to watch paint dry, and then I'll be working on the minifig, and then that paint will have to dry before I can put the next on, and then I'm just going to go back and forth. And what I'm hoping is that, especially for the Savoia, that I don't mess it up and just create more of a problem than I already have had. This is going to be that kind of day. So that is what is going to happen. Is I'm going to be going back and forth between the Savoia touching up and the minifig until they're done, I guess. Sometime, I don't know, in another lifetime at the rate this is going. Sorry, I'm kind of frustrated because of the updates and the result of the updates not having the chat screen. I can see the chat there. Okay, so I do have a chat screen, but it's incredibly tiny print. Hi, Enforcer. Oh, I'm not going to be able to read what you're writing today unless I can get the chat screen working again. I thought I had it working, but all I have is a duplicate of the stream. And I ran out of time trying to fix it. So, yeah, I was looking forward to hearing about how your campaign was going and your character development. But as it is, it's just going to be well, it is what it is, and that's what I have to live with, is having incredibly tiny print that I can't read. But I appreciate you popping in, at least until I can maybe get somebody here to take a short break and fix what happened after massive updates of Chrome and a couple other programs running in the background. Wow. even the layout of the icons of the programs that are running has changed. Well, switching back and forth isn't going to be as easy as I thought it would be. I'm going to, other than the one I'm working on, I'm going to move all of these guys somewhere else up here. That'll give me, yeah, okay, that made sense. It'll give me place that I can put these pieces that need to be touched up. I should probably do a really light, yeah, I need to give a really light sanding on where that. This is going to be a multi-side A. It's like, oh man, really? Where the paint dripped through the, see where it came in? It's not only sort of glossy, which means it doesn't adhere very well, but it's also lumpy. So it's going to be give it a light sanding just to smooth it out and to get the gloss off. And hopefully in the process not mess anything up. Like squeezing it too hard. I could end up squeezing it a little too hard and breaking it, which I did already last week, Friday. Everything went badly. What happened here? I can't. It's an almost impossible place to sand. A lot of red paint ooze there. Making a very rough surface right at the top. I think, the original, I think the original taping was actually pretty good, but what happened was that when I was like removing paint and sanding it and everything, what I should have done, and it was just another symptom of my impatience with how badly things were going, is what I should have done is just taken it off and spent another 2 hours retaping the whole thing. But I didn't. It's that. This one, I have to use my head magnifiers on this. And then these, definitely, there's tiny little spots that need to be painted. Well, no matter how anxious I am about messing these up, I need to get on with it. And so I will. I'm going to start with these little pieces first. There's tiny little dots on here on a few spots, just little dots of paint like right there that need to be fixed. I'm going to try to do that without creating a problem. Oh, maybe I can just do it. Maybe this will work sort of. I'm just making sure it's not a paint buildup, and I was able to correct some of it just by scraping the red paint off of the underlying metallic. I'll try that in a few other spots. I need to put a little dot on there yet, I think. Maybe. Let me try this. It's not going to hurt. Well, in order to see what I'm doing, yeah, I'm on. Thanks for joining in today. Enforcer is on as well, and I have to apologize. I will apologize again that my large print chat screen, okay, is not working. There were massive updates, software updates yesterday and last night, and practically everything was not working today, which is why I got started a little bit late. And I got the main thing going, okay, which is, this stream, but I wasn't able to restore my large print chat screen. The instructions, enough of the interface changed that the instructions I had for how to restore it from scratch didn't work. Okay. Things weren't labeled the same way. They weren't in the same place. I got something going, but it's not the chat screen. So it's going to have to wait until I can, maybe a little later in the stream, probably an hour or so from now. I might be able to get someone down here to help figure out what can be done about it, if anything. Right now, I am attempting to make microscopic corrections on these radiators. I think I can do that for the most part by just scraping away the red overspray and not having to repaint. If it's working on this one. Any spot there. You can only see it at a certain angle where the metallic paint isn't covered. See what I can do about this one. This is like working on an old master's masterpiece where it got painted over. The trick is to remove the paint without doing anything to the underpaint. So far, I'm being pretty successful. This one's a big blob. Sure, I can do that. Do it with this one. I'll see. I came up with a topic for a monologue today anyway. Reminiscing with a family member. Speak about what it was like growing up. Get into a discussion of central heating. Okay. That makes sense at all. And recalling that when we were growing up, we spent some time living in my grandparents' home. And it was the furnace there was coal. Yes, it was long enough ago that in our neighborhood, at least, we were little kids. I mean, like under the age of 5, pretty little kids. The probably still like 30% of the homes had coal furnaces. So in winter days, there was coal smoke everywhere. You folks have no idea what that's like. It is suffocating. When there isn't any breeze and a bunch of chimneys are belching out coal smoke, it's really powerful stuff in terms of both the smell, but also just the smoke. It's choking. That isn't really the story I wanted to tell, but just thinking back at that experience, it became, it's pretty clear how back in the day when everybody was heating with coal, the winter air quality was very, very bad. I think I might. Let's see how this looks without magnification. I really don't want to mess with this too much in terms of just painting on it, because you're correcting one color and then overpainting the other color. It's a recipe for disaster. But I'm thinking this is turning out well enough that I have to see which way these things set on the model. They're supposedly not interchangeable. Okay. They go on like this. Yeah, because there's paint on them. They actually stick without cement or adhesive. This is best. I'm actually going to label these when I set them down. Yeah, like this. Can't I find what I'm looking for? Here's a felt tip pen here. a black felt tip pen. Here's the green one, I guess. What I'm going to do is this up. Okay. I draw a picture like this. Okay. It's pretty clear. That is, right? And if I put this one, which is the one on the left, here, and this one, which is the one on the right, here, and I set that aside and don't screw it up, then I'll get them on the correct side later. I'm tempted to tape them down, but I don't want to mess up the paint. Set these way over here. Already sliding around. There we go. There. And if I put them in that same orientation, they should be okay. But I think I got those. They're going to look all right without having to overpaint them. These are going to require painting. So I might as well just get on with it and start doing the touching up. I knew I was missing something. What I'm missing is not the chocolate chip cookie, which, by the way, is very good. I can move this down. They've been doing a lot of work down here in the workshop, working on a new version of the dungeon tiles. I think it's 4.0. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to talk with my mouth full of cookie. So in version 4.0, I'll show you those a little bit later. I'm going to lean forward and try to read what showed up on the chat screen. Well, congratulations on coming up with a solution. I wish I could, I don't know what to say, updates. When things get updated, they're supposed to be easier to use, more intuitive, but it wasn't. It was just a downright mess. Need my coffee. And then I'm going to start doing some painting touch up on these where the red paint got inside because I destroyed the very nicely taped thing that I had done when I tried to fix it last week. And then as that's drying, before it gets another coat, I'll go back to start working on the minifig, the orc spellcaster that I was working on last week. So while I am doing this, I was going to do a monologue about coal-fired furnaces because when I was a kid, really young, like 4 or 5 or something like that, there was still coal-fired furnaces in my neighborhood, and my grandparents had one. And it's an amazing thing. It's just, they were scary things because there's this sort of controlled, very, very hot fire in this box. And there weren't any fans or anything. Okay, this was just, it was called gravity heat. And the way that worked is hot air rose. Just, that's how it happened. The hot air just went up. Unfortunately, the gold parts of this are quite a mess. That's going to require a good deal of very fine-tuned. We'll get to that later. I want to get the basic duraluminum interior done first. I'm going to start with this one. This is the one that's of most concern. This piece I want to be removable. It goes here, it covers this, but it's like an access hatch. I'm sorry I can't read the chat, but keep telling us, though. I think other viewers might be interested. And when it comes off, it needs to look good inside. I'm going to use the teeny brush here. Dropped it. Yep. I hope I can find it without stepping on it. I'm going to be gone for a bit because I'm going to be crawling around on the floor. There it is. Wow, it really flew. Look at this piece. I'm going to have to not hold it in the sense of lifting it up. I'm going to have to leave it there. Just have to let it sit here like this and not try to pick it up. I'm going to have to go silent. Try to get a really nice even line on here. Yeah, well, this is going to be a thing. Sorry for going quiet. So this particular day is just not a great day because of the updates. I can't see the chat screen, so I have to keep apologizing for that. Doing tiny little bits of touching up. Trying to get the two sides to look the same. No, I mean symmetric. I want them to be symmetric. I'm having a little bit of success with that, but not going to be too bad. Let's see how this one is coming along. So keep posting in chat, because when I'm done when I'm done with this bit here, this is the second coat of paint on this. I'm going to take my head magnifiers off and lean in real close to the monitor in front of me and make a real effort to read what you have posted. Because I know that you're talking about how you were working on your weapon system for your character. And that's an interesting thing, and I want to be able to read it. All of our computers updated last night. I don't know what else isn't working in the household. There will be other things that are not working because updates, are supposed to make everything so much better, but they pretty much don't. No, this is sort of on camera. That's good. Been working in order of sensitive in terms of having to be really careful with painting. Yet another coat, I'm not sure. It's not too bad though. And this one is important because this one shows quite a lot. These metallic paints, just like the red paint, are actually kind of translucent. They require multiple coats, which I don't appreciate having to do because getting one coat right is bad enough, but having to do it multiple times, no. Something I enjoy. Yeah, this is really sad. The 2 hours I spent taping, not entirely wasted, but pretty close to being entirely wasted in terms of the touching up that needs to be done because the taping failed. I'm holding this like way down here it would be more comfortable for me and maybe for you too if I could lift it up higher. But the problem with that is that you saw a little while ago, the piece it had a little bit of a tendency to escape and jump. It took a leap, previously, and this will need a second coat, of course, as predicted. Now keep going in chat. I will catch up when I'm done with this. Does just these are just the consequences of all of the impatience. Oh my! I think that's a piece of tape. Looks like there's just a little piece of tape there that never came off. There. No, it's off. And then I just threw my pin over there. Of course, everything is taking a really long time because it's me painting. Slow I am. This whole thing, it's coming out okay. I'm kind of disappointed because I wanted it to be like a real solid A level paint job, and maybe it's an A minus. It might be approaching an A minus territory, but it's definitely not solid A, or definitely not an A plus. Now, what I'm going to do, well, that could have been a disaster. As you have no doubt seen on this stream more than once, the major source of disaster is bringing the paintbrush up to and away from the surface. In that case, I had the brush right there, and the part slipped in my hand, and if that brush had hit on the outside, well, that would have been very bad. Yeah, stroke of luck there. Okay. Well, I'm going to let these parts set. Clean the brushes, and then check in with chat and see what's new there. What's this brush up? I might have to use the isopropyl on this because I let some of the metallic paint dry on it. I'll take these off while that's drying, and then I'm going to go back and work on those after I work on the. I'm going to set them aside way up here. That way, if I knock over this jar of alcohol and spill on them and cause me to have to start over with a new kit. Okay, what I'm going to do will be, we really need a new one of those. I'm going to be leaning way up. I'm going to let you look at this while I do that because it's, something to look at. This is the minifig I'm working on. And I'm going to attempt to read the infinitesimally small chat screen that is up there because my big one is not working. So here I go. I have no idea what this is going to look like on screen. Probably just see the top of my head where the bald spot is. Okay. If she's going to have pointy nails. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping the painting does. Oh, it dwarfs. Oh, okay. I see what you're going to be doing. Well, you're really planning that out far ahead. It's really pretty cool. I think you're getting that weapon system nailed down pretty well. I'm going to start by trying to paint the orc's teeth. I'm using ivory paint instead of white because white just glares too much. It really doesn't look good. So ivory, when it's painted on and it's on camera, actually doesn't look yellow. It's like teeth should look. Now, what's almost certain to happen here is I'm going to get one of these. It has two big fangs and a bunch of little teeth. I'm going to get one of them just perfect. Mm-hmm. And the other one is not going to be. Like the paint is going to ooze or not get into the right place. And it'll look very asymmetric. And then I'm going to be spending, I'm just warning you, a good deal of time trying to get the two teeth to look alike. Because one will look good and one won't. It always happens that way. Always, 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 always. There. I just squeezed out. I successfully squeezed out an itsy bitsy little dot of paint because I'm not going to need very much. Don't get too much on the brush. Yep. Got it on his lower lip. And it's going to require the, yeah, yuck. See how the other one looks. No, that didn't go well. That actually went pretty poorly. By the time I got enough paint on the brush, I got too much on. And it's just, it became a mess. Actually, the first one I do is the one that works. In this particular case, it's not cooperating. Brush is falling apart. The bristles just started going every which way. This is going to require a good deal of fixing. Yeah, I think I can fix it, but it's, it'll take a little bit of dabbing tiny little bits of green orc paint on its face. What I'm going to do, since I'm going to have to do some touching up anyway, is I'm going to need to paint. I need to paint the eyeballs, and I'm going to I'm not going to paint them red. That would be too much. I think just black, just black dots. I'm tempted to use the felt tip pen, but I've made a mess of that too many times. So I'm just going to use some black paint, the glossy one, the game color black. See if I can find it. Oh, here it is. I'm going to try to paint the eyes, just little black dots for the eyes, because I have to touch up the face with green paint anyway because of the fangs. Just not going that well. So what the heck, And this will do another thing that needs touching up. And do all the touching up all at once. Apologize again about not being able to see the chat screen. Wow. Dark. Other dots, not even close to being in the right place. Wow. That's pretty awful. Eyeball is somewhere down on his cheek. I have to say that so far this is going not that well. Yeah, yeah. Not well at all. Not well at all. So he's got one eyeball there that's looking okay. And then the other eyeball is taking up like 2/3 of his face. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a lot of face repair here. But that's just part of it. And I apologize again. The 3 different updates that happened yesterday, last night. I know they were last night because it shut down my other computer. It restarted it, but it didn't. I couldn't see anything on the screen. I had to reboot. I know I'm going to use the emerald green for the piping, the belt and the piping on the shirt. And I know I'm going to use one of these other two on the pants and the shirt. And I know that I kept forgetting which one was going where. Well, my colors are here, which is not doing. There we are. Yeah, turquoise pants. I'm going to paint the shirt first. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Some of the embellishments on this, like the wristbands, yeah, these things are just, they border the skin color. And so what I'm going to do is defer, is to say put off doing the touch up on his, oh my, the paint leaked. So there, yeah, got a lump of paint. I'm going to defer. Yeah. No. I might use this pin on the just thinking ahead to what could go wrong and realizing that that could go wrong. I was going to use that pin to open this up, but then decided not to because I was using that pin to help scrape some of the paint off of the Savoia part that's getting touched up. You might be saying to yourself, why is this orc doing things like wearing turquoise pants and having emerald green embroidery on its shirt? And that would be a good question. And the answer to that is that this group is the divorcees. You're a divorced orc. You're going to want to look pretty fancy when you go to the bars and the taverns. I'm going to be putting a wash on these, and the pants and the shirt and all of that, so it doesn't look so flat and cartoonish. I'll do that later on after the paint is dry. I just not going to put it on right away when the paint is wet. I'm going to try to resist the temptation to put too many colors on this guy. I have this blue-gray wash that isn't going to change the color very much, but will hopefully, just make it look less like it's just flat, like a animation cell kind of. I know you're saying, why am I wearing my head magnifiers when I'm just painting these large areas? And that should be pretty straightforward to paint. And the answer to that is twofold. One is I'm wearing them because I just had them on, and why bother taking them off? The other is that I have found with a good deal, like all the time, that when I'm painting large areas like this without them, when I look at it then with them, I find that I have missed spots. And then I need to do touch-ups that I wasn't planning on doing. I have way too much paint out here. So for both of those reasons, I'm wearing them even though I'm painting just a really large area that you would expect. Oh my, see, like that. Now I rotate this and I find that I totally missed a really big area. I missed his entire right hip. That's another thing that can happen, is painting a large area like this and then rotating the model and saying, oh, I missed half of it. I mean, it wasn't quite that bad, but it's pretty close to it. That's a pretty good color. it's not that bad. It's. I'm hoping that when it's done, it'll complement and not clash with its skin color. We'll see. I am now going to get the turquoise paint out. Did I just do it wrong? Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! Seriously, I I I even checked. I checked the chart and said, "Oh yeah, that's the way I'm going to do it." And then I did it wrong. The pants are supposed to be turquoise, not light blue, not blue green. Wow, that's. I mean, it's not a horrible thing. I'll just repaint them. But that was holy shit. Yeah, just lost my PG rating there. Seriously, how could I possibly have messed up like that? All right, so you're going to be looking at this now, and you're going to see that the shirt is the same color as the pants, and they're not going to stay that way, because what I managed to do is, after very carefully consulting the color chart and saying, oh yeah, that's how I was going to paint them, I didn't. I very carefully put the wrong paint in the wrong place. I guess it's just as well that I squeezed out too much paint. Paint the shirt, and then wait for the pants to dry. I have to wait for his pants to dry, and then I'll paint those the color they were intended to be. So you got to see it was a minor oops. Okay, if I had my oops button, if I had two oops buttons, I would have pushed the minor oops button this time. This is just a dumb mistake, but it wasn't. I have to like strip the paint off or reprime it and start over kind of mistake. But it was a world class dumb thing. Was it definitely? How was I able to pull that off? That was really dumb. That other thing here. His little orc ears sticking out of his flowing locks. Another thing to do with the green paint when I do the inevitable touching up is I need to paint his orc ears. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking forward to more touching up. Like when I paint the belt, there's almost certain to be touching up that'll need to be done. Not doing a very good job of talking about heating houses with coal here. Because I needed to groan. I needed to slap myself upside the head and say, I can't believe I did that. There, I just bumped its elbow with the brush. And there's a little spot of blue paint on its elbow that needs to be corrected later. I wonder how the rest of the stream is going to go. The way I've been oopsing already. Yeah, I would have missed that spot altogether if I hadn't been wearing these head magnifiers. And then things always look different at different angles. Can't tell if that's a spot that isn't holding the paint. Let's see, so this paint is pretty viscous. It's really thick. And what happens sometimes when it gets thick like that is that when it dries, it shrinks. And when it shrinks, little spots open up, little white spots. And that's what I'm seeing here as it's drying, is that little spots are forming. Most part, that's not bad. I got the elbow bump there, but I have to touch up a fair amount of touch up with the green skin paint anyway. And that will involve that and little ears, fixing its right eye and its fangs. There'll be a lot of that. There. Well, I'm waiting for his pants to dry so that I can paint them the correct color. Who knows how long that'll take. I'm going to I'm not going to use those airplane colors. I'm going to use one of the other ones. I want these bracers are going to be metal with the emerald piping. Okay. A darker color like gunmetal, I think, would actually look good rather than a bright silver. So I'll see if I can find that. And then I'll paint those and then let this dry. And then after it's dry, I'll be using the emerald paint. I know that color. And also repainting its pants. Use this color, this color for the boots. All these colors are going to be out here in the way. What did I say? Gunmetal? I think I said that. See if I can find that. Chainmail, gunmetal. Okay, I'm going to take a little time here. I'm going to check the chat screen again to see what Aman is saying. Okay. So you're responsible for making the entire city in which you're going to be playing. That's pretty good that you're using your creative talents well to a good purpose. Okay. I have no idea whether the DM is going to like this color, these colors on the orc or not. I mean, they're not standard orcish colors, I have to admit. But he's a divorcee, right? He's a divorcee orc, very tall, flowing hair. Just has to be fancy looking. Just has to be. And so it is. And if they don't like it, if this is rejected, like that is totally inappropriate for this orc character. If that's the reaction, then I'll just reprime it and start over. Then these like belt buckle buttons. Pretty much the only metallic that's going on this model. Caster doesn't have much metal. After I'm done painting this metallic on here, go back to the Savoia and put a second coat on as necessary. Things that needed touching up. Rethinking the belt. I hadn't painted it, but there's that piping. Yeah, those kind of flow into the belt. I'm going to paint. I was rethinking, about not using the emerald paint on the belt, but I'm going to. These now. These are metallic. Yeah. Got it. I made a mess. It's going to require there. I'm going to have to touch that up. Probably after I put the emerald paint on, I'll have to be doing some touch up with that anyway. There's always back and forth with the different colors. When one is as mostly unskilled as I am. It's lack of skill. I think it's just lack of being able to get my hand and brush exactly where I want it. I keep reminding myself that at this age, I should be very thankful that my hand is steady enough to be able to do this at all. At all. The blue-green paint needs to dry yet some. And after that is dry yet some, I'm going to repaint the pants the correct color and do the emerald piping on the shirt, the wristbands, and the belt, and a little tab in the back there too. Just let this aside. I'm going to at least you can see I've been painting. I'm making some progress on this. It's not, it's coming along. It'll look better when the pants are the correct color and the emerald green is on it. And then I need to paint, oh yeah, the staff. I think it's just a plain wooden staff with some roping on it. I should do something fancy with the orb. And then there's claws. This could take, yeah, just that bit up here could take a while. I think I'm going to put a bunch of different colors on it and try some things. But for the moment, take these off. These pieces, you can watch the paint dry on those. I need to take a very quick bio break that comes from drinking my second mug of coffee. Okay. So keep an eye on these for me. Don't let them go anywhere. And I will be back very quickly. Back break. Thank you. Bearing with me there. My head mate. I'm going to do everything with these on today, just because, to recharge them. Yeah, this needs some second coating, not too much. I had before. The metallic stuff was separating from the pigments, but I want to waste it, so just stirring it up with this brush and then use this. Reminding myself, do not pick it up. Do not pick it up. Do not drop it on the floor again. I'm going to stay satisfied with that line. It's gotten to the leave well enough alone stage. So I'm going to do that. Many times. I said it is time to just leave well enough alone, and then I didn't. Many times. And right there where I left it. There, household that had a full furnace. And it's it's almost impossible now to imagine what skill it took. Seriously, what immense skill it took to make that work for the house. Because, like I said, it was called gravity, the gravity furnace, which meant that there weren't any fans, which meant that the hot air just rose up through the registers in the house and distributed itself however it just pleased. My grandfather would work, it was twice a day, Rich. Oh, yeah. Once you started the fire in the furnace, it stayed on from fall until spring. You didn't stop the fire at any time. Starting it and getting it going was quite a thing, and then cleaning up afterwards with all the clinkers, the ash, and everything. It was far from a simple thing. So the furnace would start in the fall, and every morning, my grandfather early in the morning. Okay, he got up incredibly early because he walked about 2 miles to his job, regardless of the weather. Blizzards, thunderstorms, back and forth. Sometimes he would take the bus, but usually we'd walk. But he'd get up early and get the fire going for the day. And the coal had to be arranged in the furnace just right so that it would burn the entire day. And we're looking at a 12-hour period of time, pretty much. And it had to be arranged so it produced an even heat during that entire time. You didn't want the coal fire to just produce like this huge burst of heat that would threaten to burn down the house and make everybody inside feel really very hot. Didn't want that to happen, so that coal had to be arranged inside the furnace, if you can imagine that. Imagine it's just, and the furnace is just an open grate, kind of like a wood fireplace grate. But the coal had to be arranged just right so that it would stay burning the entire time at a fairly even pace. And then the same thing needed to be done in the evening, after dinner and all of that, so that it would burn all night, because he wanted to make sure that the furnace was still lit in the morning so he could do the whole thing over again. And like I said, that was incredibly skillful. Just think about having to do that. Hard enough to get a coal fire burning anyway. And it was just burning. Okay, there wasn't any bellows or anything automatic, no coal feeder that fed the coal during the day. It was shoveled in, in the morning and at night. And had to be, just the right amount and the right arrangement. And thinking about it, I'm just amazed at how he was able to do that. But it was every day. I'd get up in the morning and it was already done. He'd be off to work. Furnace would be burning and the house would be warm. It would stay warm all day long. The fire was less intense at night because it didn't have to be quite as warm when everybody was sleeping. And that required a, skill as well, because it was, different at night than it was during the day. Of course, being 4 years old, I didn't appreciate what was happening at the time and what it took. But I certainly hope that everybody else in the household was incredibly appreciative of it, because I don't think anybody else could do that, including my dad. I'm not sure that he would have ever have learned the skill necessary to make that happen. This is turning out okay. I mean, the metal is a little rough there. I probably should have sanded that more, but this is, it'll serve the purpose. So all that's left then, this is not a trivial thing, is I need to fix the gold here because the edges are just not good. And part of it is putting some red paint on, which is going to be pretty tricky. If I recall, I actually painted this bronze and put a little gold touch up over it. So I'm going to get the bronze paint out. This is going to require, I don't know, I might wait until Friday morning to work on that. we'll see how this is going. I tend to get chilly, and it's not even noon yet. I might give that a go after this next bit on the minifig. Happening in chat. Once again, I'm leaning forward. Thanks. Okay. I have to remember to charge these. Okay. As I had said before, these blues and greens separate, and you can see how there's like this dark stripe here and over here. Is what's happened is that the pigment and the solvent separate from each other. Blues and this one as well. And it just takes a whole lot of stirring up. Takes a good deal of stirring up to get them uniform. I think this. I might want to try to. I think I can paint up to the belt if I'm really careful. I have just changed my mind. I'm not going to repaint the pants turquoise yet. I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to do it soon. So since I'm stirring this, I'll keep stirring this. I'm going to do the emerald piping and belt and other things first. I do that for two reasons. One is, the main reason is that that's what's in contact with the orc skin. And if I can get that done, then I can do the orc skin touch up all over the ears, the face, the elbow where I got the paint wrong. Okay. This is going to need a lot of stirring up. But let's see how the emerald is separated too. You can see that. These are all really nice colors, but they do separate. Speaking of it, what's going on with this? That we were just thinking about it, what it was like to not just start a coal fire, okay, or to keep a coal fire burning, but the immense skill it took, the incredible skill it took to have it produce a uniform amount of heat for 12 hours at a time. Stoking it in the morning and then doing it again in the evening. Just amazing. And these furnaces, they weren't insulated boxes or anything. They were just, what it was just the sheet metal, fairly heavy sheet metal, like you get for your ductwork kind of now. Round thing with a domed top. In the coal fire, the heat exchanger, such as it was, oh geez, I bet those things were just rotten. Were really heavy cast iron, and these coal flames, these very hot flames of coal would heat the air in the heat exchanger, and it would just rise up through the house, through the ductwork, and it just went wherever it wanted to go. Great. Managed to get a cramp in my hand. I use this brush instead of the teensiest brush. I hope it'll work. There's hardly anything left of this, and I was going to order some more. I was encouraged to get one at the local hobby store, but we've never gone there, so I might just have to order one anyway. But I think this brush should work okay if I'm careful with it. The color is not. The little LED light on the front actually makes a huge difference. The color is subtly different than the blue-green. The piping on the shirt and the belt, you're not going to be jarringly different in terms of color. Taste, just tastefully obvious. This is going painfully slow, I can tell. The other thing is we were reminiscing about coal. Is that coal had to come to the house somehow. It wasn't like fuel oil where you'd fill a tank, a truck would come and just pump it in, or natural gas, that comes through a pipeline and just keeps flowing. Coal had to be delivered. It was dirty job. The coal truck would come and park on the street out in front of the house because, there wasn't a driveway up to the coal chute window. There was houses had coal chutes. Was essentially one of the basement windows would open, and it would open into a chute like a slide. Had to be poured into that chute down into the coal bin. wood-lined room in the basement. It was, as it sounded, it was like a bin. It was just a wooden frame that kept the coal in that area and not spattering all over the rest of the basement. Get the coal into the coal chute. It had to somehow get from the truck that was parked out in front of the house along the little narrow sidewalk and dumped through the opening. And the way that was done is that there were hoppers on the side of the truck. It carried different kinds of coal. There were different kinds of coal that burned at different heats, different heat levels. I think we used anthracite, which was a harder coal. It burned a little hotter. So you had to be more, quite careful with it in terms of stoking the furnace. But it burned longer and cleaner. There was less smoke and ash that came with it. It was purchased by the ton. That was the unit of measurement. Okay, you just didn't get a bucket of coal. You ordered like 2 tons of number 2 anthracite, please. However it was ordered. Something like that, though. And the truck would park out in front of the house, which was, a little distance away. Probably, say, like 70 feet or so. And there were steps up. I'm just trying to set the scene here. From the street to the house was up on a hill a little bit. So there were 5 steps, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, from street level to the sidewalk along the side of the house level. And so the people who were delivering the coal had these canvas buckets. And they were canvas spread over a frame. It was a metal frame with straps, shoulder straps. But the bucket material itself, it wasn't a metal bucket, it was a canvas bucket. And I think that was actually to reduce the noise, because coal is a rock, right? And if it were hitting a metal bucket all the time, it would make a huge, huge, huge noise. So I think it was to keep the noise down, but I also think that it was easier for them to carry than if they were metal. It gave a little bit. There's a little bit of give to it. It was softer. Not that the coal inside was soft. I think these buckets probably they might have held close to 100 pounds of coal. They were really quite large. At least when I was a kid, they looked like they were large. And you could tell how much coal to deliver by how many buckets full. So the people delivering the coal the bucket to the truck, fill it with the grade of coal that was being purchased, hoist it onto their shoulder, carry it up the 5 steps along the sidewalk and empty it into the chute, the window, and down the coal chute. That was pretty loud. Each one got dumped that way. And, coal, these poor guys were just covered in coal dust. The buckets were covered in coal dust. They were covered in coal dust. It was amazing. And there were usually two of them, so one would dump their load, go back for another one, and they'd pass each other on the sidewalk and do that until they had delivered as many buckets of coal as had been ordered. You can see the green piping on there. It's fairly subtle, but it's a decent color. I think it looks okay. Paint the wristbands the same color. Part of it is, to keep the outfit coordinated, and part of it is I don't want to just have tons and tons of different colors on this guy. It's just want him to look like, a divorcee and be kind of fancy and all that, but not silly. So this fire in the furnace, like I said, lit the fire in the fall, and it kept burning the entire winter. And the coal produces a lot of ash, and it's not just like wood ash. They're called clinkers. They're hard. They are also like rocks. And those had to be moved out of the way, kept out of the way, so that the coal could burn. The clinkers were just ash. So part of it was not just banking the fire, so that it burned with a uniform heat, either all night or all day, but with some frequency. Had to, at the same time you're keeping the fire burning, get the clinker ashes out of the way and into this receptacle on the bottom of the furnace. They accumulated quickly enough that those had to be emptied during the winter season. Couldn't just wait until spring to clean that up. That involved, getting a pretty big shovel, putting those clinkers into buckets, carried up the basement stairs, all the way to the alley, put into an ash box. And that was common enough that, in addition to trash collection, there was coal ash collection as well. It was the ash box. They came around periodically. I don't know how often. Shoveled out the ashes from the ash box, one shovelful at a time. Just, I'm getting it onto the metal part there. That's not good. just thinking back about this, the huge amount of manual labor. None of that was mechanized other than the truck, right? That brought the coal. Every single bucket of coal had to be handled by a person, one bucket at a time. The ashes needed to be hauled out from the basement to the ash box, one bucket at a time. The ash box had to be emptied into whatever vehicle was taking them away, one shovelful at a time. Just an immense amount of labor just to keep one house, winter. And none of that was pleasant at all. It was all unpleasant, heavy, dirty work. And that was considered to be, to have a coal furnace was a real upgrade compared to, the days when we just had wood fires and fireplaces. Like I was saying, my brother and I were reminiscing about that because we both remember, being in a house with a coal furnace, thinking back about just the amount of effort it took. We haven't even talked about, the coal extraction, all that, coal extraction, transport. There was a coal yard. Neither fuel. It's a little less than a mile from the house. We used to pass it when we walked to the swimming pool in the summer. And it was fascinating because that's where they had where the coal was. They had big silos that were filled with coal, and that's where the coal trucks loaded. And in the window, because there was an office there, it's where they kept the books and everything as well, made the sales. In the window, there were these glass containers, like urns, kind of. It had samples of the different kind of coal that they sold. They were labeled, and when we walked by, it was like, you could look in the window, see bituminous 1 and anthracite 2 or whatever they were. They were named and numbered. Kids, that was kind of a fascinating thing to see the different kind of coal. See the place where the trucks loaded. It turned out that they had a huge scale there. It was kind of we saw this much later. They were selling the place, and we actually went to look at it because it was just a nostalgia thing. Is the scale. I don't know if you're familiar with scales where you move the weights. You slide the weights over to get the balance. Okay. It was like that, except for coal trucks. And so on the inside, there was this balance beam, the balance arm, just like there is on the kind of scale that you get. It used to be maybe in physicians' offices, that sort of thing. Where you'd slide the weight. Except it was like hundreds of pounds. It'd be a weight that was essentially a ton. You slid it over and that measured a ton, and then you did it by hundreds of pounds down to 10 pounds at a time. The truck would go on this platform, and it was the weighing platform. And yeah, I guess that's it. I just need to paint the pants now and do some bunches of touching up. Okay. Well, one of the dogs at least is awake. There's a good deal of barking going on. Now it's time to get the turquoise paint alive. This is, like I said, needing stirring. But yeah, they had a balance beam scale that weighed up to like 10 tons or more. I hope someone is. You can't hear it because the microphone screens out noises other than my voice, which is noisy enough. Um, but I'm really hoping that running around is being supervised. After I get these pants done, the touching up is going to be the orc skin on the face and the arms. Okay. I'm not sure if there's much touching up with the blue green or not. I need to do some detail on the belt. There's some touching up to be done with the gunmetal on the wristbands where I got the emerald. Here, finally come loose enough. After I do the pants, I'm going to let this dry and go back to the Savoia and attempt to deal with the brass and the gold area and see if I can't get. Oh, that isn't working at all. I'll mix it up in the well. You can see what happened here. You can see how it's separated. It's all swirly. But I'm going. Mix it up with the brush. Clean the brush. Get the bristles back. Bristles decided to not go here with the other bristles. Keep losing bristles. Okay, well, there. The pant's the correct color now. You can see it's in the same color family, but it's a little darker so that the ensemble will match the ensemble. It'll be matching, but it won't be same, just uniform. Interesting color. any sounds of screams or dismay or anything. So I will make the assumption that whatever the dog running around noise was just it's morning excitement. Yeah, excited and this just kind of requires some repair, it looks like. I hope they like that a spot. Just saw a spot that didn't get covered with a light blue paint. It's right in there. It looked like sometimes it's when it's drying and it's glossy, it's hard to tell the difference between a paint spot that wasn't painted, especially if there's white primer underneath it, and a paint that's just shiny because the paint isn't dry yet. That was that sort of spot. That and then there's always the inevitable. I didn't put any paint on there at all under the arm here, and then I got it on the hand. There should have been plenty of room, but I just wasn't careful and bumped it with the brush, just like the elbow here. Yeah, it's got the blue paint on it. I'm rotating this to see if I missed any spots, because that does happen. Okay, looks okay. This brush clear. This seem to have come back together. I'm going to use the isopropyl on that. The paint has kind of gotten up on the top of the brush there. I want to make sure that's clean. The paint built up right there where the bristles come out of the brush there. The next, I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep one more thing on this. The chainmail. I'm going to do some touching up on the chainmail, just on the bracers. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to do the belt buckle and the little rivets. And then I'm going to take a little bit of a break in my nose, I guess, because the inevitable last hour of the stream, everything just feels so much colder. Always happens. And I don't really understand. I was thinking about bringing the space heater in today. There's a little space heater that is used primarily for the rosin printer, because that needs to be kept at a uniform temperature, and the ventilated room where that thing operates sometimes gets pretty chilly. And I should have brought that in. Well, I was going to, but then I ended up spending a lot of time trying to get the chat window to work and failed to get it to work. But yeah, that was the time I was going to use to unplug the space heater and move it here. Okay. There's this big button up in front. I'm just going to paint it the same gunmetal. I'm not going to put like a big brass button on it or something. That would turn what is already kind of an orc-like into something that would be way too extravagant and kind of silly. I'm going to attempt to dot these belt rivets and the belt buckle. Belt buckles have always been a challenge for me. Very narrow, and they're different orientations. I think I got that. Well, the next there is to fix the orc green skin. There's just bits of touch up all over the place. I think I'll do the boots because I can do those when it's kind of late in the stream, and then I have to think about what to do with the shaft there. That it needs to be wood, and I know how to do that. I can make it look nice. I'll use the brown with the smoky ink wash like I do on the dungeon tiles. There needs to be a leather wrap. I can make that look leathery. I need to do something with these claws. Dragon claws. I don't know. To give that some thought. Okay. Probably against better judgment, I'm going to attempt to do some touch up on this piece here. If I can see if I can do that without messing it up. No, the first part. Okay, you can't really see it, but there's a spot right there. See, some of this is just going to be painted brass. Okay, where the red got into the brass, but there's a spot right there that needs to be red and not brass. And I'm going to attempt to do that. But first, I need some cookie. And I have to get another container. I'm going to let you watch that not move, and I'll be right back. So I don't have a brush-on version of this color. In fact, I'm not sure they even make one. So in order to do this, and I've done this before with like the Apollo and the submarine, and you can see some of them. This is the color for the interior of the Apollo. This is for the lunar excursion module. As I spray a little bit of the spray paint into a container like this, and then touch it up. I mean, just touch it with the brush and get it to where I want it. And I'm going to do the red first because there's a chance it would flow into where the brass color needs to go. Brass will be touched up next. But if the red goes into the brass, then I have to keep going back and forth. So this isn't a particularly well ventilated area, but I'm just going to do this tiniest little splish. There. And then take the teeny brush. To get it. There. Good. The rest of it. The rest of it is getting the brass paint on. Now I have to try to get this paint out of here. I'm going to apologize again to everybody who's been in chat. Oh, is that who? Hi, who? Thanks for popping in. I will do a flip. After I clean the brush. I'm apologizing to everybody. I'll just repeat what happened. There were updates, software updates last night, many of them. And one of them was to the two of them, or to the programs that are used for my large print screen window, chat window. And I followed the directions about how to fix it, but the whole interface on the software was changed, and I managed to get something, but it's not the right thing. So that'll have to be fixed after the stream today. So I can't see the chat. I can see that there's chat because there's a infinitesimally small little print version of it up there that when I move forward like this, yeah, I did my best to get it fixed, but I didn't. I failed. Let me do the flip. I'm going to flip, what's this? Living. One side is living and the other side is not. I always hate the last half hour of the stream because things just start getting weird. 2 living. 1 not. 2 not. 3 living. 3 to 3. Random chance works again. Yay! But thanks for dropping in. And Amin dropped in, and Enforcer dropped in, and I wasn't able to. You didn't see that. I knocked the microphone over. Probably didn't even hear it because it screened out the sound. Everybody has to really, really enjoy the last half hour of these streams because that's why I'm not. Okay, you noticed I am not doing the final touch-up with the brass and the gold paint on that piece where I did the red touch-up. The reason I'm not doing that is because it's the last half hour of the stream and something terrible will happen. What I am going to do, and this is a little risky, is I'm going to take these other parts here. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing. See, I got those little bits. Those are radiators. And I have them placed on this very rough outline of this piece so that I can get them when it comes time to attach them. I put them on the correct side in the correct orientation, but I want to put them in this tray because this is the in process piece tray where I can cover it up and set it aside. Now I've got some trash. I've cluttered the workbench so that every time I move, I'm bumping into something and potentially knocking it over. There is an alert for first-time chat, which shows up on the chat screen when the chat screen is working. Which it's not. I'm going to paint the shaft of the thing before I do the green touch-up because I might have to do green touch-up on the hand after I paint this. Yeah, it's this color. Yeah, definitely Friday. I'm going to bring the space heater in, without a doubt. The first 2 hours are fine in terms of temperature. It doesn't get any colder down here. It's just I think that I get colder. Remove the camera back. Great. What you didn't see, which was really quite entertaining if you had, is that, right, this is the last half hour of the stream. So I was about to dip my brush into the paint. No, no. There. I'm finding I can't see anything without these today. I'm going to paint this. This is going to be washed. Smoky ink wash. So it look like very richly cut, reddish brown wood. It'll look really good. And then I got blue on the fingertip. Great. Then I'm going to make a decision about whether I'm probably not. Okay. After I'm done painting this, what I'm going to do is talk about Dyson Dungeons, do a little promo stuff. Show off some dungeon tiles, that sort of thing. The next step here is to do the goblin green orc flesh. And there's tiny little spots like its ears, or little bits here and there where I have to be really careful. And at this point in the stream, it's like 100% certain that it won't go well. So I'm going to save that for Friday. On Friday, I'll be doing a couple of things. I'll be continuing this, maybe even finishing it. There'll be shading and some shading and some application of wash, in addition to touching up the green orc flesh color. That'll be the main thing. And then I'm going to put some leather bindings in the front of that. I might just do that now. So on this figure, there's going to be, I have to paint the boots. I could probably paint the boots today. Yeah. I can't tell. There's like some binding or something on the very, very back end of this stick. I simply can't tell based on the detail I'm seeing. I'm going to say there isn't. I'm just looking on the back of it here. I think I'm just going to paint it, I'm just going to keep it simple and just let that be wood, this whole thing. I was thinking of painting the leather bindings now, but I'm going to wait just to make sure that the paint is on the shaft is dry. So on Friday, I'll be just doing lots of little stuff. I'll be touching up the orc flesh, doing the ears, fixing the face, doing some of the spots that I hit, finishing the shaft, doing something clever with the claws on the front here. Little bits. The paint dries pretty quickly. I'm going to try to do it in an order, the order in, so that it would get done. You can tell it's late in the stream, right? I'm just sort of babbling now. I'm not even coherent. Oh, what's going on in chat? Oh, hi. Oh, you just came in? Oh, thank you for the first time chat. I am. Actually, I do have some tips for painting minis for D&D. Actually, quite a few that I would love to talk about. So if you could drop in on Friday, I'm going to continue working on this guy so you can see some of them in action, and I'll be starting another one. I'll be starting a second mini. And I hope to have my chat window up so I'll be able to see it, because my eyes are just old. They're just old. But yeah, there were these updates, and I guess who ran into the same thing. Absolutely everything got messed up with the latest updates. There were several of them on last night. So please come back on Friday. I start at about 10 Eastern time, usually right on time or very close to being on time. And yeah, I'd be more than happy to share whatever I know, given the experience I've had painting minis for the D&D show. Like me. This is me in my early incarnation for blog player. So, thank you for engaging. I appreciate that, and I thank you all for understanding just that things just got messed up today. I just hadn't been having any issues at all getting the stream started, and then with all of the updates, I got at least the main part working. I got the stream working, but I didn't get chat working. So thanks for dropping in. If you feel like it, maybe you could become a follower. That would be really cool. But definitely come back on Friday, and I'll be able to engage then. What you can see now is basically pretty much I'm layering on base coats. And the way I tend to do it is, well, a lot of it has to do with where one color meets another color is trying to get really nice, even lines, which I just right there failed to do. I got the black onto the blue. Some people like to paint the upper surfaces and then paint the lower surfaces to them, which is the way I prefer. Others prefer to do it the way I'm doing it here, which is to paint the lower surfaces and then the upper. I'm just making a mess of it because it's late in the stream, and I'm going to have to come back with the turquoise and touch up some of the tops of the boots where the black paint went up over the top. Oh, I didn't. That's right. There's these straps on the boots. These decorative straps on the boots that need to be painted. Probably that emerald color that I use for the belt. One tip, though, is I'm messing up my boundaries here. You know, the where one color meets the other, is that it is somewhat less important to get the line in exactly the right place, and slightly more important for the line to be even. If that makes sense. You can get away with a slight misplacement of the boundary between one color and the other if the boundary is smooth and even. If there's just a nice clean line, like I managed to accomplish on the back of the boot there. Okay. That's somewhat forgiving. What I'm doing here, though, is when it gets late in the stream, my brush placement just leaves something to be desired. And the brush went over the edge, and I got the black paint onto the pants, and so I come back and touch it up in the other direction. Generally, these brush-on paints, there I did it again, getting the top of the boot painted, I managed to get the paint too far. What I prefer, and I didn't do it this time, and is to like where there's the edge of the boot is to they should have painted the boot first and then painted down to it, but this way I'll just have to deal with touching up. These brush-on paints generally are fairly opaque. That is to say that they will cover each other. You can see it's messy on the bottom. I'm going to be painting the base later. So I just want to make sure the bottoms of the boots are painted and paint that over later. But sometimes paints are sort of translucent, and you need to be a little bit cautious when you do that. Test your paints ahead of time, on a piece of paper or some scrap plastic or something, to see if they cover each other. And if not, you want to paint the one that doesn't cover first, and then touch up with the one that does cover. If that makes sense, put the opaque paint on top of the translucent, because if you put the translucent paint on top of the opaque, you'll end up having to do multiple coats to get good coverage. Okay, this black paint, it's running a little bit, but I like the way it kind of creates some detail. That looks okay. On Friday, I'll be touching up the orc skin. The face needs some work. There's places where I hit it with the brush. I'll be touching up the pants, getting it right, and then starting to do some shading. Like I'll be using great. There's a spot there that didn't get covered. I'll be using some washes on different places, like the hair and especially the shirt and the skin. And what the wash does, it's semi-transparent paint. It's intentionally translucent. Is it the pigmented part tends to build up in the low areas more than in the high areas, and it emphasizes the texture of the print of the minifig. I'll be hopefully finishing the touching up. I'll probably start with the Savoia, the brass and gold paint on the very, very front of the enclosure for the engine. Be coming back to this, finishing some of the orb in the front, just going back and forth with different colors to get the touched up, and then doing some washing on it to bring out some of the detail in the texturing. And then I will also be starting, I have 3 other minifigs. I will probably work on the halfling warrior. Has scale armor. And I'll be working on this figure. I think I'll do that one next. Yeah. Either that or the gnome cleric. The gnome cleric is kind of cool. Oh, the gnome cleric is holding fire. One of these two. I'll get started on one of these two. I'll be playing around with what different colors and things, keeping in mind again that this group is the divorcees, and they're not going to be wearing subdued colors because they're divorcees and they go out, that kind of thing, meet new people, their stuff. Yeah. So let me wrap up by talking about, thanks for understanding, and please do come back on Friday. The chat screen will be up and running because I will make somebody come down here and fix it. Friday, I'm going to finish the touching up of the enclosure for the engine for the Savoia, which are these. There's no productions level. I mean, I've got this ring camera, so if I want to show you something different, I just move the whole thing. These pieces that are painted red and silver are going to be right here. This gold part is going to get touched up. And once that's done, I'm going to assemble that. Believe it or not, a week after I expected it. I expected to have done that last week, Friday, but there was as Lemony Snicket would say, a series of unfortunate events. Unrelenting days of unfortunate events that hopefully will be behind me, and I'll be able to get that done, and I can put the engine enclosure in the done box. I'm going to finish this guy. It's going to be back and forth with different colors as I do little bits of touching up here and there, okay, and figure out what to do. I know the leather binding, but what to do with the claws and the orb. I have some ideas. We'll see how it works. And then I'm going to get started on one of these two figures, either the warrior or the cleric. Kind of leaning toward the cleric. Yep. The gnome cleric. I'm looking at red hair, and there's some metal armor here. Because she has red hair, I'm looking at, who would love this? Maybe a little bit of pink in the armor. And some like orangey colors to go with it. Just maybe. The elf archer is just going to be boring. The elf archer is going to be, elven colors like woodsy green and brown and leather and that kind of thing. Elves just can't, an orc can get itself going. When an orc is a divorcee, I can see an orc, right? Who must really like this, right? Look at that. This is an orc that, goes out to the clubs, right? And the gnome, yeah, she's definitely going to have red hair, orangey red hair to do something with the shield. Yeah. They'll either hate it or not. If the other members of Dyson Dungeons hate it, then there's always respraying it with the primer. Dyson Dungeons runs a Dungeons and Dragons show that streams with a live chat on Sundays at 2, and you can catch all of the old episodes on YouTube or listen to them as a podcast. We should set this down so you can kind of see it. Okay. And if you haven't already, you should catch it. It's really a lot of fun. I want to invite everybody, first time chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you. See you again on Friday, where I will be able to see the screen and be able to interact a little better. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons show. What did who say at the end here? Yeah, of course we had chat problems when people are joining in on chat. There was one day, what was it, Monday, I think nobody was on chat at all, period. And the chat screen was working just fine. But at least who was on, so you were able to interact. I really appreciate that. Yeah, Dyson Dungeons show. Watch it, enjoy it, become a follower, become a YouTube, subscriber, and just follow us and enjoy. I will be back on Friday. I will be doing my best to finish up the orc guy and starting to work on the gnome, and maybe finishing the assembly of the engine enclosure for the Savoia S.21. And I'll be showing people that, the instruction manual and things so that everyone can kind of remember what it was that I was working on. Thanks, everybody. I will be back at more or less 10 o'clock on Friday. If you are stuck in one of these storms, there are 3 winter storms going on now. One through the south. There's one that's going to be hitting us later today. Another one is going through the middle of the country, and there's an atmospheric river hitting California. I mean, this week is a weather week. If you're stuck in one of those events, be safe, take care, because all of those can be really pretty scary and dangerous. So I hope that you're safe and that you're able to rejoin on Friday. And we'll talk to you then. And I will talk about painting minis and some of the things that I've learned that I think would be really helpful for someone who's just sort of starting. I know if you do a how-to show and you start seeing an expert painter, like I have, not I am, but I've seen that, it can be kind of frustrating because it's really difficult to pull those things off. But there are things that can be done that I've learned pretty much through trial and error that, that result in things that look okay. They're not like huge display models or anything of that sort, but they look okay and they look really good in the game that I am very happy to share with everybody. And I'll be doing that again on Friday as I finish this guy up and start on the gnome. So thanks again, and see everybody then. Stay safe. Be well.